Dakota James, a 23-year-old graduate student at Duquesne University, vanished in Pittsburgh on January 25th in 2017. A CCTV image captured Dakota walking through Katz Plaza and down an alley towards Fort Duquesne Boulevard. After a 40-day search, his body was found in the Ohio River near the Interstate 79 bridge over Neville Island. The medical examiner ruled it an accidental drowning, but Dakota's parents, considering his swimming ability, questioned this conclusion. Another forensic pathologist working with the family noted inconsistencies in the autopsy findings, including possible ligature marks on Dakota's neck. The circumstances surrounding his disappearance remained puzzling, leaving his family searching for answers. Welcome back to Weeknight Mysteries. My name is Yuras, and I'm joined by my co-host Rain.
Hi everyone, and hi Eurus, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all good. I'm excited to tackle this case. Who are we talking about today?
We're going to be talking about Dakota James. We have a 23-year-old Duquesne University graduate student. He disappeared on Wednesday, January 25th in 2017 in Pittsburgh. We also have a CCTV image taken of Dakota from a surveillance camera in the cultural district as he walked through Katz Plaza and down an alley towards Fort Duquesne Boulevard. Dakota's body was found in the Ohio River near the Interstate 79 bridge over Neville Island on Monday, March 6th of that same year. This would be 40 days after he had already disappeared. It's proposed that Dakota is one of the smiley face killer victims by retired New York City detective Kevin Gannon. The county medical examiner ruled Dakota's death an accidental drowning. The official theory that we have is that Dakota allegedly crossed Fort Duquesne Boulevard and went down the steps from the Clementi Bridge to urinate along the river, and then he fell into the water. With water temperatures in January in Pittsburgh, Dakota must have had only a couple of minutes before he went into shock. Police accepted the missing persons report from the family after he went missing, but only 5 days later. Because initially, law enforcement said that Dakota, being a 23-year-old man, he has all the rights to just vanish.
Of course.
And not have any contact with his family members anymore. During the first few days of the search, Dakota's parents had learned that Dakota was possibly drugged and someone tried to abduct him 6 weeks before he actually disappeared.
Before?
Yes.
That is disturbing, no?
Yeah, but I think it's definitely disturbing. The only thing is that I don't really have any more information about this particular incident.
Do you think it's somehow connected to his disappearance? Probably a second attempt to abduct him?
It depends. It really depends. I mean, I don't really have a lot of information about this because this is, I think, just an article that I've read. And Dakota's family claims that they have spoken to some of his friends and they told them that he was apparently drugged and someone tried to abduct him 6 weeks earlier. So it's strange, but I'm not really sure how much credibility to put on this because he never told his parents about this. If, for say, someone tried to drug you and abduct you, I think you would probably mention this to your family.
Unless you're scared.
But if you're scared, are you really back out drinking?
That is true. Yeah, I agree.
So how much weight are we putting on this particular detail? That
He was probably hiding it from his family because he didn't want them to worry. It's probably on the back of his mind, but probably not. He wasn't as scared
Right.
What do you think?
I mean, I don't know what to make of it because it's such a drastic situation,
That
right?
is true.
To get drugged and to get abducted.
And then afterwards go out drinking again.
And why Dakota? He's just a college student.
Yeah, you got a point.
Why him?
Why him specifically?
Why him? You know what I mean? And usually I think when you try to abduct someone, it's usually the, when we talk about GHD or GHB, I forgot, like the date rape drug, you're usually talking about girls that are getting abducted, not
That's
guys. True. Dakota James was a pretty big, I think he was 6'1", 250 pounds guy. I just don't see why you would want to abduct a regular college student who doesn't seem to be like, extraordinarily wealthy.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. On the day when he disappeared, Dakota had been walking back to his apartment after a night out drinking with friends and coworkers. And his last known sighting was caught on a surveillance camera in downtown Pittsburgh. Dakota had just separated with a friend that had taken an Uber home. So you've surely seen the image.
Yeah.
The last known image of him, where he's kind of looking at the phone. So that image was taken shortly after he had separated with, I believe, a female friend who had taken an Uber to go back home. 40 days after his disappearance, Dakota's body was found floating in the Ohio River about 10 miles from where he was last sighted. Police what was this? What was that?
It's all good.
Police believed Dakota had fallen into the river while crossing a bridge near the city center. The medical examiner ruled his death an accidental drowning.
This is interesting, considering he's the captain of the swimming team, don't you think?
Yes, but we have to take into account that the water was very cold. And I'm not really sure, but I don't think it matters how good you swim. If the water is freezing, I think your body goes into shock anyways. At least that's what the detective on the case said.
Would it be instant or would there be a time frame?
I think you would have, I have no idea, right? But I feel like you could still try to paddle. And another thing, this area where Dakota allegedly was standing on and, according to the official theory, urinating and then falling into water, is actually really, really close to the border. To the no, not the dock. I have no idea how to even describe this. I'm surely showing this. Yeah, platform. I'm surely showing this on the YouTube channel, and I'm actually going to show this right now to you because I have this picture right here. So I'm describing this area right here. If you could take a look on my phone. So you see, there's this is the Clementi Bridge.
Yes.
And the Clementi Bridge has this stairway.
Yeah, stairway going down and up.
Yeah, down. You could either go down the stairway and go under the Clementi Bridge.
Yeah.
And you see there's this kind of a platform area. So I have no idea how the law enforcement came to this conclusion, because this is a very specific...
That's true.
Very specific area where it's proposed that he urinated from. But apparently he was standing on this platform, was urinating and fell in. The first thing that I see that is kind of interesting to me is that there's actually quite a bit of space here.
There is, yeah.
If you're going to urinate, if you're going to fall down, there's still a good chance that you're going to fall on the platform, not straight into the water.
Unless it's drunk.
And
it's swaying around.
And at the same time, how is law enforcement coming to this conclusion that this is the exact place where he was urinating? Because we've looked at the maps, and honestly, after he takes that alleyway at the Katz Plaza, it's anyone's guess where he goes next. As far as I'm aware, there is no CCTV cameras that indicate that he specifically went to the Clementi Bridge. or that he urinated in the first place. But this is very specific and actually makes me question whether or not law enforcement actually have more information that they're keeping close to the West and not letting us know about. Because I always, when I read this story, I was fairly confused. Why is law enforcement so confident that it's this exact location where he urinated?
I agree.
But let's just go with the flow here.
I'm a little bit suspicious. Not suspicious, just weirded out about the fact that he drowned. I know the water might be too cold during that time, but at the same time, he's the captain of the swimming team. Wouldn't he know what to do better than regular person? There might be an instant shock. There might be a couple of minutes before you go into a shock. As a captain of the swimming team, wouldn't he be knowledgeable about that? Like, oh, I have a minute to paddle up. I'll do it right now.
I don't think so. I don't think you're kind of, because I've practiced swimming for a while, and you're never really taught about like survival. You know how to swim, but you're not really aware of how many minutes you have in freezing water until you die. So I think that's not. I think it's possible. If he did fell in, there's a possibility. Because once again, I have no idea why the law enforcement is claiming that particular place, but I feel like it would be so close to the platform that he could either shout for some help and someone maybe would help him out, or at the very least he would be able to hold on to the border
before he gets into shock.
Because this is the area where it's also like I'm showing you another picture. This is a picture I found on the Facebook page for Dakota for his case, and someone took this picture. People kind of are sitting here.
Yeah, over the edge.
Right over the edge, and it seems like this edge is something that you could potentially, like, hold on to.
That's true.
So I'm kind of, I'm on the fence.
That's what I was kind of talking about earlier. Like,
yeah,
he has a couple of seconds, maybe, or a couple of minutes before his body went into shock, and he knew how to swim. Probably the coat was heavy. Was he wearing any coat?
I don't know. I don't have any. We have a description. I'm gonna go into what he was wearing, but we have the picture. Sorry about that. We have the picture, the CCTV image, and it's pretty bizarre. I didn't include the CCTV picture in the notes here.
It's all good, but
I think he was wearing a coat from what we can recall. But yeah, the fact that like anything like jeans, shoes, everything kind of is.
It will weigh down on you
Definitely.
Once it's wet and it's cold. But at the same time, if he fell in, he probably wouldn't have fell in a little farther. Still right there, no?
Definitely. I mean, maybe he, once again, we just can come back to the fact of thinking about like how is law enforcement so confident it happened in that exact stairway. Maybe they are holding on to some more information that we just don't know about. All right, let's jump into the investigation portion, because we have some things to discuss here regarding this case. Very fascinating details. For example, the forensic pathologist, Dr. Cyril Wecht, I think his last name is, reviewed the autopsy findings and raised some red flags. Now, this guy, Cyril, he was asked to do his own kind of
investigation.
Like, yeah, he's a pathologist, doctor, forensic pathologist. So, Kevin Gannon went on to investigate this case because he thinks that this could be part of the smiley face killers. And he asked his friend, I assume, pathologist Dr. Cyril, to kind of take a look. From my understanding, Cyril did not conduct his own autopsy. He looked at the pictures taken during the original medical examination, so he did not conduct it.
He didn't see the body himself.
No, he was working with the pictures. And on top of that, it was something very strange where Pam James, Dakota's mother, said that Cyril told her that he can work with pictures and he doesn't need to see the body. Therefore, Pam went on and cremated Dakota's body, which she now regrets.
Yeah, that was a terrible decision.
Who are we to judge?
That's true.
But
not judging, just like from a scientific or logical standpoint, it was still an evidence. Probably cremation would have, I don't know, been delayed.
We don't know the exact.
That's true. We didn't know the exact timeline.
And what's going on there, we could just report on the facts. Some of the red flags that was raised was that there were very little decomposition internally and externally on the body. I think this man is working with the pictures here.
Question.
Yep.
Do you think it was preserved by the cold? Cold water. Is it even possible?
I have no idea, This is where I guess my lack of knowledge about how decomposition works, I just can't even speculate.
We have more questions than answers.
Yeah. The body did not look like it was in the river for 7 weeks. Mm-hmm. There were no scratch marks on Dakota's face and hands. Now, the fact that there are no scratch marks is very important because if you remember, by looking at the map, where Dakota's body was found, it had to have floated past a dam.
Yeah.
And his clothing apparently were not ripped up, and no signs of kind of scratches or any kind of damage like that on his body.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's interesting.
So that's interesting because Kevin Gannon stated that it's impossible. It's impossible for his body to have no scratch marks, for his clothing to be in a fairly pristine condition, given the fact that he was in water, having flown 12 miles downstream and past a dam.
That's true.
That's very damning, I will say. But I think they're all working with pictures.
Yeah.
So once again, I'm not sure if they're actually working with the body. I think they're all working with pictures, something that we have to always take into account. Alleged ligature marks on the back furrow of his neck were also found. Now we have very graphic images. We have fairly graphic images because this was released to the public, so we're also showing this on the podcast. First time, I want you to take a look at this image right here.
Yeah.
This is Dakota's back of his neck, the back of the neck, and we can see like a red line
of blood,
right? Almost from this picture, it looks like there's something was on the neck.
Or it looks like he was strangled to death.
Yeah, kind of, right?
Yeah.
Or there was a lot, there. It's a wound, almost like a wound.
Like a rope burn or something.
And then below we have another picture from the autopsy, and now we don't see any of that. It's being cleaned off.
But there's still a little mark on the right side though.
Bottom right side.
Yeah.
It's something there. I see something there, but let's just definitely conclude that the main bloodiness, the main pool of blood is no longer there.
That's
and it
true.
looks pretty clean down there. Now, the official explanation by law enforcement, what is this bloody ring that we see on the back of his neck in the first image, is actually the blood that came from his ears and his nose during the time when he was in water, and it had pooled there. And the second image is apparently an image when the medical examiner had already cleaned this blood off the back of his neck. Now, Pam James, his mother, had problems with this because Pam James claims that she does not believe that the pooling of blood around Dakota's neck could stay kind of pooled as he was in the water for 40 days. I mean, it kind of makes sense when you think about it. Would the dry blood stay pooled on the back of his neck for 40 days?
In water?
It's strange, right? And then all of a sudden, as he's at the medical office, it's all gone. But then at the same time, we can clearly see from image number 2 that the back of his neck
has been scrubbed, of course.
Yeah, but for the most part, I don't see any ligatures.
That's true.
I don't see any significant. Obviously, we're not expert, but I don't see any ligatures here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's nothing here.
Yeah.
We see a little bit of something here on the bottom right, but other than that, I don't really see much here.
Yeah, but the main question is probably, was he placed in water or did he actually drown? Like, do you think he was abducted?
Oh no, we're getting to that.
Oh.
Don't worry about that. No, we're get this. You are correct completely. We're just kind of moving through the motion here.
I was too excited. Okay.
We have a little bit more here before we get to that. But you are completely correct. That is the question. Now, other than the alleged ligature marks on the back, he had blood pulled in fingers on both of his hands, which potentially indicates that Dakota was trying to pull off a ligature away from his neck. Look at this picture right here.
Yeah.
We have pulling on the blood. I'm not an expert, and this is the first time I've even seen this kind of an image. But we see a pretty graphic image with his fingertips having pooling of blood. Now, this allegedly happens when a victim is trying to kind of pull away a neck ligature off his neck, which is also suspicious. Once again, I don't know the statistics, so I can't really talk much about it. But, we have to present the facts here for the audience members, of course. Other than that, Kevin Gannon, the detective, who claims that there is a cult of killers who kill young white men and leave smiley face graffitis. He claims that this was clearly evidence of some type of ligature device. The medical examiner's office concluded that there were no ligature marks. They claimed that it was dried blood that washed off during the autopsy. There are two pictures. One where blood came out of the nose and mouth and pooled around the neck. There was a second set of pictures where the neck is clean and there's no ligature marks at all. And that's what the medical examiner is telling me too. Apparently this is what the DA, the district attorney, was quoted telling news articles. And so dried blood doesn't stay on you when you're in the water for 40 days. That's what Dakota's mom, Pam James, told the media. There is no way a body could travel 10 miles through a dam 40 days and be that pristine. It's impossible. I've seen hundreds of these cases, and I'm telling you, it doesn't make any sense. Kevin Gannon stated this.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. His body wasn't swollen. He couldn't have been in the water for 40 days. That's what his mother also added to that. Kevin Gannon suspects that Dakota's body went into the river beyond the violent waters of the Emsworth Dam, indicating it was dumped there. Cyril, the pathologist, said there was no internal damage to the neck structure as reported in the autopsy report. So I'm not able to say that he was strangled to death, but there was something around the neck for sure. Okay, so this is pretty interesting because if you would take a look at the map.
Yeah.
And I'm showing this particular map on my phone, so if you could take a look. You see, this is the general area where he was last seen in downtown Pittsburgh, and then we have his body kind of somewhere around the Interstate 79 bridge. And now in between these two areas, there is the Emsworth Dam. So what Kevin Gannon claims is that Dakota's body must have been dumped somewhere past Emsworth Dam. There's no way his body could go past the dam and be in a pristine condition.
I agree with him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm no expert.
Yeah,
but I
we're
will
no
say,
experts,
yeah, but it's convincing.
In your face, yeah.
It's convincing.
Pretty obvious.
I will say it's convincing. At least for me, it's convincing.
Well, the water pressure in the dam is pretty heavy, pretty high.
Right. Because I just want to quickly step in here and I want to say the same thing I said on the last podcast. All of the information we have, I would say 95% of the information we have about this case are coming from Kevin Gannon and his goonies, basically. The people who are, I would say, quite biased.
Yeah, so we don't know the whole picture then. Just one side of it, technically.
No. I think we might have the whole picture. We don't have law enforcement debunking Kevin Gannon's claims. Like, we have the claims that are, to you and me, a regular person looking at the case, it looks weird and we can't explain it, but maybe law enforcement actually have explanations.
They have the answers.
They have their own explanations, but there's no point for them to go online and kind of debunk Kevin Gannon's claims. It does nothing for them. So we only have one set of kind of very biased opinions coming in here. So we should not we should have very critical minds here when we talk about what Kevin Gannon and his goonies are.
No, but you
telling
have
us.
to think about it. If he actually drowned before or in an area before the dam, and he has to pass through the dam, it wouldn't be in such a pristine condition.
Well, I think he wouldn't. I think if his body was placed after the dam, I think it's definitely foul play at that point. I don't see how he himself got there.
Due to the water current, I feel like there would be at least bruises, and some of his clothing might have some tearing.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
I definitely see
So
that's
the
for
water
sure.
pressure.
That's for sure. And then once again, I don't even logically thinking. I'm thinking, how would law enforcement would even debunk it? Maybe they would debunk it by saying, no, the dam is not that violent. And maybe his clothing weren't in pristine condition. Because once again, the only autopsy images that we have is the back of the neck. I don't see the images of the
whole thing.
Yeah, and then what we do have a very hilarious kind of smiley face image here. I'm not sure if this is the smiley face that made Kevin Gannon think that it connects to the smiley face.
I'm not gonna lie, it looks like a kid drew it.
Yeah.
Not a killer. Sounds super, how do I say it? Friendly. To be anything but
Yes. Okay, so let's round up the information we have and let's conclude with something here. Okay, so we have Dakota James, somewhat drunk, somewhat stumbling. I've read the report that he was stumbling. He was enjoying a night out with a group of friends. Was last seen walking, texting as he was walking. Family claims his body was found. Family claims body didn't have enough decomposition to indicate that he was in water for 40 days. He had no scratch marks. He had possible ligature marks that are questionable, in my opinion, very, very questionable, and was apparently drugged 6 weeks before. Was captain of the swimming team and probably could swim well.
Yeah.
So these are the main details in the case that I could kind of point out immediately. And it's a very tough one,
Yeah, it is.
It's a very tough one.
Because the reports are conflicting and evidences are still insufficient. And yeah, we're just left to wonder and assume.
Yeah. I'm thinking, what was the outcome here? And I guess what we are doing with the podcast today is that we're more bringing light to this case rather than making assumptions here, because there's a lot of questions that should be answered here, and I think the information that we have is very kind of one way leaning. So I wouldn't want to kind of completely base my opinion on very biased initial kind of statements by Kevin Gannon and his goonies.
Do you think further investigation should be done?
Yes.
Definitely.
For sure. Because just by looking at the map, it looks weird.
It does.
Just by looking at the map, it looks weird. And yeah, so to conclude, I guess the last question would be: do you think this is part of the smiley face conspiracy?
Okay, we've been talking about three different cases now that are awfully similar,
Yes.
and the victims also fall into a specific kind of age and description.
Description: young white college
Yeah,
men.
exactly, young, and I still somehow don't believe it's real.
No, I wouldn't connect it. I feel like there's potential for these cases not to be accidents and they're actual killers to be involved, but I don't think it's the same group of
Yeah.
people. Because Patrick McNeil, 1997, Christopher Jenkins, 2002, Dakota James, 2017. This is 20 years of killing.
But you also have to remember, like, Israel Keys.
But by 2017, he was no longer.
Yeah, no. I'm not saying that's him. I'm just saying he has the similar pattern.
Oh, yeah.
He would travel
Yeah.
and he would kill people.
That is true, but I mean, this would have to be Israel Keys on steroids, basically. Like someone even a better killing machine than Israel Keys.
That's true.
Which is hard to believe because Israel
More
Keys.
tactical.
Yeah, because Israel Keys was already like pretty hardcore. So we are talking about someone even more hardcore.
Like, who just left a bunch of bodies for us to wonder what happened with them.
It's hard to believe, you know.
And the
very
smiley
hard.
face.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, well, I think it was a very nice podcast.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not making any assumptions today.
I was making an assumption that it involves a foul play, and I kind of still stand on that, but I could be corrected. I'm an open mind.
Yeah, me too. Like if let's say if the details are correct that Kevin Gannon is telling us, then yeah, I will say if that's correct, and I've seen an interview where he claims he says it's impossible, and he looks very determined. So I kind of I think there's definitely room here for foul play. I'm just saying it's strange.
Yeah, and further investigations would definitely help.
It can't do any harm.
That's true.
All right, we had a good podcast. Please, guys, leave your comments in the comment section. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't done so yet, and we will be releasing more podcasts very soon. Also, we appreciate everyone who listened to the podcast this week. We will be probably wrapping up with smiley face killer related cases for the time being, and we will be jumping to something different.
Yeah, but let us know what you think. What do you think happened to Dakota, Christopher, and Patrick? Do you think they're all connected? Let us know, please.
Yes, we'll catch you on the next episode.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.